Right. It's all there. It's all there? Sweet. Sounds like I'm collecting money. I'm a bookie or something. Break your legs if you don't have it by Wednesday. So, I told you we were just going to dive right in. Alright, here we go. Would you eat your cat? You ready? Cleopatra had always enjoyed a close relationship with her cat, Hector. She would tell her friends that she and Hector were more like sister and brother than owner and pet. Hector went everywhere with Cleo. He would ride in the trolley as she stocked up on his favorite gourmet foods at her weekly supermarket shop. They would regularly watch afternoon reruns of Melrose Place together, she enjoying the occasional, after a minute, he happily devouring a tuna melt. And at night, he would curl up at the bottom of her bed and she would read to him an Agatha Christie, perhaps, or excerpts from The Owl and the Pussycat. Hector, unfortunately, was not blessed with great eyesight, and this led to his downfall when one day he mistook a lawnmower for a mouse. Cleo was devastated by his death, but having known that this moment would come, she had some years before made herself a promise. As a tribute to Hector, she would eat him for supper. She felt this was fitting. He would, in death, become one with her. Also, she had heard that cat meat was jolly tasty, and she figured that Hector would have been pleased that he was now satisfying her curiosity in this regard. So it was, then, that Cleo sat down on the evening of Hector's death and ate him, on toast, washed down with a nice glass of Chianti. Cleo lived to be a ripe old age. She never regretted her decision to eat Hector and never suffered any ill effects as a result and told nobody else what she had done. So, my question for you is, was she right or wrong? And we are going to take a poll. Alright, so raise your hand. Who thinks she was wrong? This was 21 last class. Okay. Who thinks she was right? Huh.
Can I go in the middle?
You're going to have to pick a side for this. So what I want you to do is, if you are indecisive or whatever it is, I want you to turn over the piece of paper and write down your reasons for why you think she's either wrong or right. Right or wrong. That's normally how you say that. So yeah, and if you are indecisive, just go with one of them. And think of as many reasons that you would tell me, right, why you think she's right or wrong. Just one side, though. Alright, what do you guys got for your reasons? Let's start with wrong. Why is she wrong?
I think Cleo is selfish. She made a promise to herself, not to Hector, so Hector was never agreed to let her eat him. So, yeah, she was selfish.
Yeah. What if you believed in cremation, right? Okay. What else?
I said she could have had better ways to pay tribute, like bring the crewmate. It didn't have to be necessarily eating him.
Cool. Alright, what else?
If you eat your cat, aren't you technically flushing it down the toilet because it's not going to stay with you forever?
So, defeating the purpose. That's what you're saying, right? Defeats purpose because of poop. Alright. Because of the toilet, but I think you get it. Alright, what else? Anything Anything else for Beth? These are very creative. I don't think I've ever had anyone wording them like this before, by the way. There's other really like basic ones. You're like, we're not basic. Well, that's good for you. Like anything else? Like
There was no guilt on her behalf.
so this is the wrong?
Yeah.
Okay, so she didn't feel guilty?
Right. Just because of the friendship the said friendship that they had of doing things on a day-to-day basis,
Mm-hmm.
you would probably feel guilty if you were to eat your best friend.
Yeah.
Just saying.
How about that? Best friend. You don't eat your best friend. Anything else? No one thought, huh?
Like, don't you think she was obsessed with the cat because she felt like she came home?
Yeah, it's a little, that's a little weird, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to feel like it.
So weird also, did anyone else have one word answer like gross? No one thought gross. No one had the word gross go through their head.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're doing here, right? Anything else?
There's a lot of like illnesses that can come with eating.
So, are we done over here? Has anyone got any last ones? You should hold nothing back. Nothing else? It's like a family member too, right? Don't eat them, so this could be best friend, family. Okay. Alright, let's go to why is she right? Wait.
Alright. I feel like her heart was in the right place. She thought she was playing tribute.
Yeah, okay, so same, let's see, other ways, well, yeah. In her own way. Okay.
Okay.
I'm like so innocent. Hey, you! No, go for it.
She didn't get sick. He was never, like, sick. Hector. No illnesses. He was just blind.
Alright, anything else? Why is she right?
Well, she didn't waste anything. She used every part of it.
Not wasteful. She could even, I had a colleague say, she could even pick her teeth with her claws, you know? Yeah. Who else?
Well, she made a promise and nobody break promises.
Don't break promises.
To your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
She made it to me.
Don't break
Yeah.
bestie promises. BFF, we'll just... Okay. What else?
She fulfilled her curiosity.
Okay.
I don't think she anticipated for the cat to die. Like, she didn't wait for the cat to die. She just said it happened to happen.
She didn't kill him. Kind of important, right?
To each their own.
Ooh, yeah. You do you, right? Her own way. Alright.
It was her cat.
Her cat. She does what she wants. Do what I want.
The food chain kind of thing.
Food chain. Apex. Predator. Betch? Yeah? How do you spell betch?
B-I.
You just spell it like that? You just pronounce it differently. Apex predator betch. Wow. Alright, what else? Anything Anything else over here?
She didn't tell anyone. So, like, nobody would know. Can't judge her about it.
No witnesses.
I just want to add, like, a lot of people stuff their cats or dead animals and leave them in their house, and that's cool. So I just feel like.
Well, is it though? Is it cool? Especially when you leave it in the kids' room or something. It's like,
what
oh,
is that?
kids like waking up in the middle of the night, and the animals are never like normal looking.
Yeah,
They're
they're,
like
like, stretched
creepy
out.
looking with weird like
Lifeless eyes.
lifeless dead eyes, and then sometimes if it's like a game hunter, they're like, you know, mouths open or something.
Weird thing.
Yeah, there's already something about that. There's got to be papers written on it. Studies that have been done psychologically on taxidermists and people who like taxidermy. You're like, I wrote that essay already, actually. Okay, I think this is enough. Wow, you guys had lunch, right? You're not like hangry, like just get me out of here. Okay, so now I'm going to pass out. I think this is enough to work with. You guys brought up some really, the wording too is what impresses me, I think. Normally it's not there. It's not where you took it. So good job, guys. So today we are going to talk about, well, I really should have started that sentence like later, like after I had fully passed these out, or at least got closer to the end. Today we're going to talk about critical thinking. This was obviously a thought problem kind of thing here. Alright, so this definition that I got for critical thinking, I got from Google. Just Google searched it, and this is the result. This is what they gave us. The objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Yeah, totally, right? Duh. Yeah? Is there anything you think we should flesh out about that, or you got it? You good? There's no words in there that could have like multiple meanings or maybe need a little bit more behind them? Any words in there that you can point out? Analysis. That's like the biggest word that like professors and high school teachers like throw around and then don't actually tell you what it means, or they think it just means to explain or something like that. They're like, just analyze it. Just take it home, analyze it, analyze this thing, just do it. And you're like, but what, you mean explain it or describe it, or what are you saying? Yeah, what does analysis mean without looking at the paper? Don't look down. What does analysis mean, do you think? I mean, maybe you guys totally know it, and it was just me in high school, and I'm just projecting right now. But yeah, does anyone have a clue as to like what analysis really means?
Like looking deeper at things, like for example, like say like on the board, like you put like you write the letter E, and then like I look at that and then I think, oh, what this means? Does it mean it's giving us an exam next week, or maybe
Okay.
like, this means like a clue? It's kind of like seeing hints and like you just overthink it a lot.
Yeah, okay, so you're definitely onto something there. So looking deeper into it, it's a particular way of doing that. And you're onto it. So what might that be in that method? So you said looking at hints of stuff. What are you looking at with that? I mean, you did it with the paper. When you think of analysis.
Well, like understanding the information.
Yeah, so understanding what's there. How do you go about doing that?
Unbiased.
You annotate.
Maybe we're almost there. Annotate.
You break it apart.
There we go. That's the exact wording, right? If you want to talk about the way you do it, which you're getting to, there's things that tip you off. There's, examining it deeper in, part by part, you're breaking it down into its key components. So when you look at the back of a food wrapper, and what's this called? This is called a food analysis, right? And so it tells you the ingredients, and it tells you what those ingredients do for your body, the caloric intake and fat and protein and even vitamins and nutrients like that, right? It breaks it down for you so you can examine it deeper, you can examine it further, and that is what they're supposed to mean when they say analysis. I know it's not there, but what's synthesis? You guys know what synthesis means?
Like, let's do it two things, right? And you kind of.
Yeah. Taking two things that were not the same and putting them together to make a new thing.
It's like the essay, right?
Yeah, you do it. Well, that's the thing, right? On the on the SLOs, they say write a synthesis paper, and the whole point of that is kind of like synthesizing chemicals, right? You take two separate chemicals, you put them together, and it makes a compound. It makes something new that did not exist before. And that's pretty much what you want to do whenever you write something. You don't want to just say the same exact thing that someone else has already said. There's no point in writing that. Someone already did it. Now, for you guys, I mean, you're not scholar on that work, right? You're not the person who knows everything about their field. You're growing in your fields, right? So you're probably not going to write things that other people haven't written to an extent, right? But you'll still be saying it in your own words in a different way than you have read it, right? Otherwise, that would just be plagiarism, pretty much. What he meant to say is discussing someone else's work to put forward your own ideas and say something different or additionally is not plagiarism. But paraphrasing their work alone is, since you are only putting forward someone else's ideas and not your own. So the thing, right, you're reaching that point. And when people get PhDs, you know what they're doing, right? Like how you get a PhD, it's you are contributing to our knowledge of the world. Like you are saying, you are discovering something. You're not just saying something. You're discovering and proving something that no one has gotten that far with before, right? You're adding to our knowledge. And that's what gets you your PhD. You guys know that?
That's what they're in dissertation.
Huh? Yeah, when they write all that stuff, and then it has to be peer-reviewed and everything like that, and then oftentimes they just make it into a book because it's so large anyway. Anyway, going back to this, yeah, there's a couple other words in here. We got analysis. Any other words that you saw that maybe have more than one meaning and kind of important to really know exactly what they mean?
Evaluation.
Evaluation, absolutely. Evaluation is like really important to understand exactly what that means. Because if I just say there's a band and I'm like, yeah, they suck. Why do they suck? They just suck, man. Didn't you? Come on, look at them. They suck. Right? What is that? That's a horrible evaluation. Evaluations are based off of criteria. And we'll go further into that. Good evaluations, right? And good evaluations are based on good criteria. Applicable criteria. Anyway, any other words in that definition? Objective? Yeah? What does objective mean?
Your goal.
Purpose.
As a noun, yes. That's what objective means in that way. But if we're using it as an adjective, like down here, where you're going to fill in an answer, when it's objective thinking, what does that mean?
Don't be biased.
There we go. It's the absence of bias. Anything else? And notice there's two words. There's objective thinking and subjective thinking. So what's subjective thinking? It's biased. It's opinionated. It's dependent on you, or it's subject to you. If you want to have a way of remembering that, subjective is subject to what you think, right? And objective is outside of you, right? It's true no matter what you think. So here, let's try one out. Chocolate is the best flavor of ice cream. It's objective. No, it's subjective. Yeah, it's totally subjective. But what is objective is that mint chocolate chip should not be an ice cream flavor, because your ice cream should never taste like your toothpaste. I know that I'm just messing around here. But seriously, pineapple on pizza, right? Yeah, we're joking, right? But you guys get the point. You guys get the point. You're like, I still don't get it because all you did was joke. Damn it. This is what happens. Subjective is it's totally your opinion. Objective is it's either this or that, apart from whatever you think about it. So is there anything you can think of that is objective?
Like a fact.
The world is round.
Yeah. The world is round, but well, hold on. Yeah, is it round like a disc, or is it round like a, I mean, it's not a perfect sphere. We know that. It's an oblong spheroid.
She said round, not
Yeah.
sphere.
Ooh.
Yeah, bro. Gotta bring that into 3 dimensions, not just 2. Come on here. You get the point though. Yeah, that's a good example. I use gravity a lot of the time. I say like, gravity is, so if you believe, if your opinion is that if you believe hard enough, you can jump right off that railing and fly. Can anyone is there at least one person in the world that can do that? Jump off the railing and just fly?
Like
No,
flying, like
no,
flying.
there's no one. There are no superheroes, no matter. That stuff is not real. That you're like, but I watched so much of it. I swear, it's got to be real, right? Like the Avengers. But if they have a jetpack, then they can fly, but gravity still exists, right? It adds a different variable to the question, right? So some things are subjective to different degrees. Even gravity varies with speed, or sorry, time varies with speed and gravity. Yeah. Isn't that a trip? We could talk about that later. I'll get super distracted. So we've got objective truth, or objective thinking, subjective thinking. My first semester, so like, this is really, it seems obvious, but there are a surprising amount of people who would argue the opposite of, think about this, like, there's objective truths, and there's subjective truths. Have you ever heard anyone say that all truth is subjective? Yeah? Have you ever had a professor say that? My first semester of college, my professor said that, and then I said, isn't that an absolute statement, though? If you say all truth is subjective, then that's an absolute statement. So that means there is absolute truth, which is an objective truth. So she then told me to raise my hand from now on, and she is insinuating that she's never going to call on me again. So she didn't like that. By the way, if I say anything and you see a hole in it, poke the hole in it, right? This is how we get dialogue, honestly. Like, I'm not here to be right and have you guys just, like, absorb, like, everything I believe, right? Like, I'm here to work with you guys on improving our writing and thinking skills so that we don't end up like all the people that you hate on the internet. Yeah. Did you see the sentence for critical thinking? That was from Google too. That was the first sentence they gave me. Professors often find it difficult to encourage critical thinking among their students. It's kind of a dick thing to say, right? It's like, who's looking up critical thinking, right? Probably students, or maybe not. Maybe they just don't care, and then it's kind of, the self-fulfilling prophecy thing, I guess. So here's this thing we've got here. There's a pyramid, and you might see these a couple times in the class, not the same one, but people really like these pyramid things. Notice it is a triangle, but more than that, it's a pyramid in the sense of, you see these different blocks? You can't have, notice, you've got remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. But you can't really apply something without remembering it, right? You can't really evaluate it without understanding it. You get it? So you can't go up without doing the thing below. Just like you can't stack, right? You have to have a foundation. So that's why it's a pyramid. Okay, so Bloom's Taxonomy. You should be thankful for this, very thankful, because Bloom's Taxonomy is kind of long. And then there's a revised version from 2001. But we can kind of sum up the most important aspects of it with this little pyramid here. And you can just memorize that in 2 seconds. So the thing that it does is it helps us describe the cognitive processes by which thinkers, you, encounter and work with knowledge.
Knowledge.
And so, you probably critically think about a lot of things. You critically think about video games, you critically think about makeup, or whatever you care about, you critically think about. Like if someone made a statement about your favorite TV show that was wrong, you would know right away. You'd be like, oh no, that's not true at all. This character does have depth, because in the 3rd season when he staked that vampire, he cried. No, I don't know. Is that in a show? No. If you're into baseball, or anyone into baseball here? Football, yeah, or anything like that, right? If I asked you who the best player was, or if this player was better than this other player, you'd probably be able to like lay down some stats for us like right away, and you'd be able to go through all of these processes without really even thinking about it, because it's something you already know, right? But what happens when you get into college and your professors annoyingly try to get you to think about stuff that you don't know anything about, or that you don't care about maybe? That's when, in order to write the essay correctly, right, you need to go through the steps a little slower, right? If it's something you know about, you're already doing this stuff. If it's not, then you gotta like break it down, slow down so you don't skip something or miss something important. You could write a perfect informational essay, but if your professor asked for an argumentative essay or a narrative, then you will have effectively written the wrong essay, even if it was the most perfect informational essay there is, right? You see how it's important to make sure that you aren't missing anything? So, a couple of these things, right? We've got definitions, which you probably kind of already knew. Like you read the definition, you're like, yeah, I knew that. That's fine. But then there's keywords, and you're going to see a lot of these keywords on pretty much any other prompt you're ever going to see. And so like critical thinking, like in college, how do you think you're going to use it? What are some actual things that you have to do that it's going to affect, or it would be nice to have as a skill? Do you think you use it anywhere?
What, critical thinking?
Huh?
Are you talking about critical thinking?
Yeah.
I use it every day.
Yeah. Every day.
Even to pick my food.
What?
I said even to pick out food.
Even to pick out food. No, but seriously though, right? Yeah, like that's not a joke at all. Like there is some garbage out there. So, yeah, it's pretty much useful not just for anything in college, but for even like how to handle your mom when she's going crazy about immigration or, you know, something like that. Huh?
Just anything in
Anything in general, pretty much anything in general, but also especially like what matters to you right now is not writing the wrong essay in this class or any other class, right? That would be like the worst waste of time if you wrote like you put a whole bunch of effort into an essay, but it was the wrong one. You get like an F. That is like, it's like a nightmare. Now let's try using the steps in the revised Bloom's Taxonomy pyramid to walk through the cat dilemma we began with. Let's start with remembering. Here's your evidence. Everything that you need is here. But what would happen if you pointed to, he would eat a tuna melt? Is that relevant at all to the question? No, it's not. Reading Agatha Christie, that's not relevant either, right? So you have to pinpoint the exact things that are relevant to it. And so remembering and understanding kind of comes simultaneously in this respect, where you have to understand the question being asked so that you can remember properly the exact things that you need to answer that question. But notice, underlining. So did anyone underline when they read? You did? Nice. That's good. I would recommend always doing that through college. I'm going to purposely print out as much as I can for you guys so you don't have the excuse of trying to return the thing afterwards, like so that you can write in it. Super important to write in it. In fact, it's like a skill that you'll probably take like years to perfect. Let's try working through this a little bit. First, what I want to do is let's go through these. We said objective and subjective, right? which ones are objective and which ones are subjective? Selfish? Yeah, you're right. That's subjective. He couldn't agree, though. That is actually objective, right? But the overall idea of her being selfish is subjective. Other ways to pay tribute? There are, but yeah, the whole idea of it is, yeah, see, this one's like both. See, that's what I was saying about your wording. Like, the way that was worded made it so that you're saying it in an objective way, but it's referring to something that's super subjective, yeah. Defeats purpose because of poop. That's objective, right? Of course. Well, no, see, it's not. So what I probably should have done here is explained how there's a difference between objective thinking and claims of fact, in that objective thinking is working with facts and relying on things that we know to be true, and claims of fact are either true or they're false. It's just making a claim that something is true, but you would still need to verify if that thing is true or not. So regardless of it being a claim of fact, it may very well be false anyway. And so that's some of the issue that we're running into here. Noticing that, well, there is a claim that it is worthless if she poops the cat out, and yet there is fact that we have that could state the opposite, which you'll hear in a second. What?
Oh, because I was gonna say, like, I mean, you do take something away because you can, like, get, like, the nutritions and, like,
Yeah.
the fat stored, so
Nutrients.
you can technically kind of get something away.
Yeah, exactly. You can get something out of it, but you are definitely pooping the cat out. Yeah. You don't eat your friends or your family.
Subjective.
That is super subjective. Anyone heard of the Donner Party? Yeah? Weird and gross. Yeah, that's definitely subjective. On this side, she didn't kill him. No, it's objective. That's the thing. So, a lot of the time, you can't trust your narrator, you can't trust the writer completely, because, I agree with that, and I encourage that. Don't just trust the reader blindly, or the writer blindly. However, this is a thought problem here. So, like, if we can't trust the narrator at all, then, like, the whole thing falls apart. So yeah, I mean, yeah, objective for this. It's her cat. Yes, so technically what we meant by it's her cat is it's her cat, she can do what she wants with it by law. I mean, so far, I'm pretty sure there's like some animal cruelty stuff that you can't, but, I mean, cat is dead, right? So, yeah. Apex predator, who's the apex predator? You. Yeah, so she's the apex predator, yeah, that's true, I guess. These are kind of like dick reasons, though. Didn't tell anyone. Does it say she did or didn't? Or maybe she didn't, right? She either did or didn't. That's the way that you tell if it's like, it's either a lie or it's true, right? And so we're going to have to take it as not a lie here because the whole thing will fall apart.
That she didn't tell anybody.
She didn't tell anyone, so yeah, objective. Why do you think that's important?
What's important?
She didn't tell anyone?
Because people might, like, judge her, or they might, like, say they might come, like, into whole animal cruelty thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, think about that. And what would that do to those people? Imagine this. She goes to work the next day, and she goes and eats lunch with her coworkers, and they sit down, and they're having, like, some, carne asada tacos, and she's like, you know what, this reminds me, last night I had a pretty good meal, it was my cat. And then all her coworkers are just like, you know what, I'm not hungry. And so, in a way, she has, or the animal rights thing kicks in and stuff like that, and then she's now offended and hurt people psychologically, right? So it's kind of important. Paying tribute in her own way. Yeah, it's subjective. I mean, it's technically true, but I mean, it's, yeah, just as much as this one. I mean, right? She didn't get sick. Yeah, it's objective. You guys don't have to like mutter it, right? You're muttering. Like, come on, speak into the mic, right? Not wasteful. I don't know.
We don't know if she ate the entire cat.
That's true. She better have used it all. Did she render it into cat oil for her lips? I mean, whatever. I'll just do that. I mean, but seriously. I mean, it's less wasteful than when we bury our cats in our backyard, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. Is it?
What?
It might be.
My buddies are back there.
Your bunnies or buddies?
Goes back to the food chain thing.
Okay. Alright, we're gonna get into some Poe thing going on. Normally he hides them in the walls and the floor, but whatever. You do you. Don't break promises.
Subject.
Yeah. People break promises all the time. What do you think divorce is, right? Fulfilled curiosity. Yeah, I mean, in a way, it's still a subjective thing, though. So, like, your curiosity is relative. But, I mean, at least fulfilled, definitely. So, that's objective. There we go. And then this is subjective. Okay. I think if any element is subjective, then it just kind of cancels it out in a way.
But if it says it in the text that she satisfied her curiosity, wouldn't it make it objective?
Yeah, good point. I'm just not going to walk back over and fix that. You get the point. Okay, so it is interesting that there is more objective stuff on that side than this, but there's still, a bit of each on either side. Let's see, what else? Is there anything else that would make it wrong or right after we've established? Let's wait a little bit for that actually. Let's keep going. So we have remembering, understanding the question, like right or wrong. So if we're trying to understand a little bit better about what is right or wrong about this, it helps to apply that third step, right? How might we apply this? Huh? To our lives? So far we've done our lives, right? And you're right, that's where we start. We always start with ourselves, right? But then it would help. So specifically, we're ourself, but then our culture, right? America. Is there any other place that we could look that would help give us insight into how other people do stuff? Huh? Past, religion. Yeah, is there anything that we eat that other people don't eat that they would be offended by or anything like that? Cow, yes. Anything else? Someone said pork, right? Okay, why pork?
I don't know the specific religion, but I know there's religions that don't eat pork. But I don't want to accuse.
Anyone? You want to accuse them? Well, they're down. They don't have to. They wouldn't feel offended if you said that they.
I don't remember which one, but I know.
Anyone?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, Islam and Judaism, because and it comes from the same source. They're both from Father Abraham had many sons. So they both have their own version of it, though. One is halal, that's the Islam version, and then Judaism uses, or it's kosher, right? And they're slightly different, but for the most part they're the same. Don't eat bottom feeders, don't eat pig, and the way that you prepare the meat also is super important. But I think with kosher you have to have it blessed by a rabbi, too. They drain the blood from the animal rather than the strangling it, which we do, which now you're like, that's really gross. Let it sit in the blood. Makes it very juicy, though, I guess. That's what we do with it. Yeah, right? You're already like, this sounds just so wrong. Well, so we've got that factor, right? And then someone said cow. Who doesn't eat cow? Who doesn't eat cow? Come on. What?
I don't eat beef.
What? Why?
I just don't.
Okay. Who doesn't eat beef for a reason?
Oh,
There we go. Hindus in India, why don't they eat it?
they're praised, they're like,
Yeah, also religious reasons, because of what? Huh?
what it represents,
No, what was?
what it represents.
What does it represent? What does the cow represent? Huh?
God.
No. You guys don't even know? I swear you learned this in like 3rd grade. You had to, because you don't learn cursive
I was
anymore.
learning cursive.
You were? Oh, still learning cursive. Well, you guys did, but your little brothers and sisters are not going to learn it anymore.
That's
We
so
talked
crazy.
about this. It is crazy, right? So crazy. Whatever. Now you have a secret language that you can write in that they can't understand. Hindus believe in reincarnation, and so they believe that that cow might actually be their mother or ancestor or something like that. You guys knew that, right?
No.
Seriously? It's like textbook, like the ABCs here. Yeah, take a world religions class, guys. You are rusty. You're so rusty. So, but imagine this. I'm not even going to pull it up because the screen didn't work last time, but alright, so you're a practicing Hindu, and you're sitting in America, and you're watching TV on your couch, and a Carl's Jr. ad comes on. And so there's a girl, obviously in a bikini, and she's eating this juicy burger that's just like dripping on her bikini. And it just pans in, and it zooms into her bikini and her burger, and back and forth, and it's just pretty much just like sexualizing it, right? Like sexualizing eating a hamburger. And then sometimes there's bacon on that, and then you're hitting all angles, really, right? So, do you think that someone who is Hindu or from Islam or Judaism, like practicing, do you think they would be like disgusted by that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they would probably be disgusted, and especially because there's other parts, especially to those other 2 religions that have modesty issues, right? Where they would be like, that's not cool. So yeah, it's kind of funny. We don't bat an eye though, really. I mean, we'd say that is definitely misogynistic and objectifying to women. Hey, there's the word objective again in a different way. Yeah. So that kind of gives us a little bit more. What about are there any other animals that
Cats and dogs.
Cats and dogs, there we go.
Horses.
So, does anyone eat cats?
Personally, no.
No, but like, do you know of anyone who eats cats in the world?
Koreans.
Do they? Yeah. What about dogs?
Koreans.
Koreans too? Chinese also, China has a dog meat festival. And when I was in Hong Kong, I remember, you know how like when you go by like maybe a Chinese restaurant, it could be some other kind of Asian food, there may be like a glazed duck hanging in the window. So I'm like rolling down the street, and I look at the window, and there's a glazed quarter of a dog hanging. It's kind of like the dog that I have. And you can look up, they actually have they have a particular breed that they breed for eating. They have a couple breeds, and it definitely does look like my dog. So it's sad for me. And then I had a student last semester, he was Tongan, and he said on his island that one of the main sources of their food is dog meat. So there's that, right? But why? So notice like there's something that we find repulsive, but we also in return do something repulsive to someone else, in someone else's culture. It's interesting, right? So that's applying, right? And in that, we've also already been at the same time analyzing it, right? We've been breaking it down into a whole bunch of different components that we found here, and especially into different components in different cultures, right? And so when we go all over the place with this, we get a larger perspective, right? Or we get a pizza. Yeah. Or a cookie, because if this was a pizza, that would have pork on it. Obviously, the sausage, or pepperoni. Stuff. Yeah. Pineapple. Those would look more like that. Something believable. Yeah. So do you see that? You always start with your most immediate reaction is thinking and applying it towards yourself, but this is a very small perspective, right? And then as you look at other places and what other people might think, it broadens your perspective, and that's especially important when, what kind of question is this? Is she right or wrong? What kind of question is that?
Subjective.
It's a subjective question. It is a moral question. All moral questions are subjective because people have different morals. Regardless of if you still want to believe that your morals are objective, just no one else is believing them, right? It's like they're not believing in gravity. That's totally fine, but you have to understand that everyone's morals are subject to themselves. Other people don't believe it, right? So the thing is, even though it's a subjective question, that means all the more you have to try to be as objective as possible in answering it. Otherwise, you sound like, the band just sucks, man. They just suck, right? It's just gross. Why would you do that? It's just, there's plenty of reasons. Also, if anyone, sometimes I have students that were raised on a farm, and they've said stuff like, yeah, we name our animals, and I constantly tried to have them as my animal, and then I'd see them for breakfast on my plate as bacon, right? So, I mean, there's that factor too, right? There's so many things that come into play that we don't really think of unless we're from, that is our background or something like that, and we have experience with that. Let's see. So we go from analyzing to evaluating. So really, what did I say about evaluating? What's significant about that? Criteria, right? So with criteria, there's your criteria of eating animals is gross, or eating pets is gross, or something like that. Or maybe you think, well, like, how could you make this objective criteria? You need solid criteria that is something that is reasonable for as many people as possible, or for as many things that you can, like something else that you could depend on as a ruler or a standard, right? So like science can help, right, as a standard. If it were unhealthy, now it says that she did not have any health effects, right? But it could have been unhealthy, or just because she didn't feel it doesn't mean it wasn't. What if it's really high in cholesterol or something like that? Or what if, let's say, think about it like this. I eat animals because they can do something that I can't do. The animals that I eat, they typically have more stomachs than me, right? So one thing I can't do is I can't digest cellulose. Neither can you, by the way. You know what cellulose is, right? It's the fiber, plants and stuff. So like, you can't just go out and like chew grass off the ground or something, or make a salad with grass and think you're not going to have like a horrible stomach ache and not be able to break it down. But an animal that chews the cud, like a cow or a goat, who has multiple stomachs, a cow having 4, a goat having 2, what?
They don't have multiple stomachs, they just have one, and has different compartments in it.
That. Well, whatever, you get the point, right? They can still break it down. It's the pragmatic thing here. Really? Yeah, that's what I meant though. We say they have more stomachs. I'm working with some weird model there.
I think that's just different compartments and then...
Thank you. See?
That's 2 today.
I know. Well, keep them coming, man. Let's see. So you have to have the correct things, especially for judging this. So morally, right? Well, what are your standards? What are your criteria for morals? Or what are the most basic ones that you think that everyone could at least agree on? Could just be one thing. Huh?
That's hard.
It is hard. You can't think of anything though?
They're so opinionated
So, what was it?
The Ten Commandments, usually people follow them.
Okay, well, what is in the Ten Commandments, at least, that wouldn't... Like, if you could just think of something that's in there that everyone would agree with. Killing another person.
But then some disagree.
Like the death penalty.
Right. Okay, so
It's true, right? Or like
needlessly hurting someone, how about that? We would all agree on that, right? Think about it, right? Because someone would say that, okay, the word in Hebrew for kill is, the Hebrew word is murder, that's what they would say, right? And so, yes, don't murder someone, but it doesn't say not to kill, because what happens in war when you have to defend yourself and stuff like that, right? That's one of the arguments that someone might bring forward. So, I mean, people can go back and forth with if we should go with these full 10 commandments here as they are put, but no one would probably argue with you if you defined it as you shouldn't hurt people needlessly, right? Now if it's, or have ill will, or even what's the golden rule? Treat people how you want to be treated. Don't hurt others unless it's like there's no way around it. What happens when, have you seen, never mind, the trolley thing where it's like there's 5 people on the track and one person on this track, and if you flip the lever, then it goes and kills that one person, but if you do nothing, it kills 5. What do? You still have to hurt someone, right? At least one person has to die there. And the point is, the greater good, or whatever, or are you Kantian, which is, it's all about the means. We'll get into that later. But the whole point is, you could probably break it all down into that one criteria of, is anyone being hurt? So, she didn't kill him, right? Did she hurt anyone else? Because they didn't find out. Did she hurt herself? No. Not physically. Not even psychologically, right? She never regretted it. Did I put that down? No regrets. You ever see that tattoo? It's like a meme. Someone got it like right here, and it's like, bro, you got one regret now. So, then we finally get to creating, which creating is the same exact thing as synthesis, right? After you've evaluated something, then you can really do something with it. Like if you know what it is and you've assessed what it is and what it's good for, what it's useful as, you can then make something new. This kind of leads us to an important point of, that's in They Say, I Say, and it's probably the most important point in They Say, I Say. So it's on like the 3rd page of the introduction, and it says, in our view, then, the best academic writing has one underlying feature. It is deeply engaged in some way with other people's views. Too often, however, academic writing is taught as a process of saying true or smart things in a vacuum, as if it were possible to argue effectively without being in conversation with someone else. If you have been taught to write a traditional 5-paragraph essay, for example, you have learned how to develop a thesis and support it with evidence. This is good advice as far as it goes, but it leaves out the important fact that in the real world, we don't make arguments without being provoked. Instead, we make arguments because someone has said or done something, or perhaps not said or done something, and we need to respond. So if we're looking at the whole entire world, if we're looking at academia and scholarly anything, if we're looking at just the history of your town, the history of the entire world, right? You can look at it as an entire conversation, just one long conversation. And same thing with academia, right? It's as you grow in your whatever major you pursue, whatever field you go into, you are learning about the context, you're learning about the backstory, the back conversation, and the things that we know, right? So, or even at a party. How about this? You ever been at a party talking to your friends and someone walks up and they just try to get in the conversation, but it's already been going for a while and they don't know what you're really talking about, so they're just kind of annoying in the sense that they're like trying to get into it, but they don't know and they're misunderstanding what you're saying, and you're just like, man, leave. No? How about on social media maybe? right? You're having a conversation, or you guys don't really do that anymore because it's just like pictures and stuff now, right? But kind of, there's probably some forum that you have at one point, maybe when you don't have Facebook anymore because your parents have Facebook, right? So why would you have Facebook at that point? But there was a time when people would, on a platform called Facebook, they would get into arguments, they still do, but they're like your parents. And they will like long essay-length comments where they're going back and forth and arguing, and they're starting to get to at least some resolution, maybe, but like at least they've said their piece, and then some dude, like 40 comments later, brings up all the points you had already covered and already argued about, and then it just starts anew, and you're just like, screw this guy. What the heck was that? Because he didn't go back and read everything that everyone else had said, and you're just like over it at this point. That is what you don't want to do. You don't want to be the guy who comes in and thinks they're adding their 2 cents that is something that someone else has like already said. You're just wasting someone else's time, right? That's what you can think of as a conversation, right? With academia, no one gets anything published if someone else has already said that thing. That's why they peer review it. That's why you get experts in that field to be like, no, this isn't new. Someone already came up with this like 50 years ago, or like 2 years ago. You got beat to the punch, or whatever. Like, you get the point with that? Like, you don't want to just say the same thing someone else has already said. Also, you're always responding. Everything is always a response. Like, whatever you write, whatever you say, whatever you even think, right? If you're thinking something, it's probably because something else has happened right before it. Just like even when you're hungry and you're thinking about the food that you want to eat, your stomach told you, or your mind told you, the brain signals and your synapses going off told you that you're hungry, and then now you're thinking about what you should eat. Yeah? Or someone really pisses you off because they said something that was just super ignorant, and now you've got like an essay flowing in your head, or you just want to like just rip into them. It's always a response. And everything in academia, every single thing that you have read from someone else who is smart is always responding to someone else. It's always responding to something else that has happened, or someone else. It's all reaction. Does this demystify it for you a little bit? Yeah, so think of it like a big conversation. You're not just talking in a vacuum. You guys get what that is, a vacuum? Like there's nothing in there. It's more like you're in a party and you walk in at a certain point. The party keeps going after you leave, and the party was already going before you got there. But in order to know what is cool and what is not cool, and what what's going on, you kind of have to get familiar with it, and you have to understand. So if you're going to talk about something, you should probably know about it a little bit first, right? So let's look at another example of this. Now remember, we're still looking at this. So we've got a picture here. Okay, what's this picture of? Huh? A woman. Good. Good. This is a woman. We know what a woman is, right? Most of the people in this room are women, I think. What else do we see? We remember, yeah, we're just remembering. What do we see? A hijab, right? She's wearing a hijab. Okay, now, understanding. Why would she be wearing a hijab? Religion. Yeah. What? It's an outward representation, right, of her belief and modesty. Yes? Okay. Let's go a little further now. Let's apply it. So, we're in America right now. Is there anything contextual that we can add to this, how people might feel? Anything like that? Any issues, problems we've had in the recent past? I don't know. I can't even just say since 2001, because we also had a war in the Middle East over oil, right? No one? No one's got. Huh?
People that practice Islam face discrimination.
Yeah, so there's discrimination, people not wanting what? Not wanting her to wear that in public, right? Maybe they think it's synonymous with being a terrorist. Some people. What can we say the issue is with that? It's a freedom issue, right? So she wants to express her freedom of wearing that and as her religious freedom, right? And someone wants to stop her. People want to stop her. Not everyone, but some people want her to stop her from that because they think whatever, she's a terrorist or it's disrespectful or whatever, something like that. Yeah? Okay, let's look at another example because applying means we apply to different contexts, right? So check this one out.
باید یک زن باشم میخوام زیاد نیکم باشم تقاضای من فقط حق من است تا کسی به ظلم و ستم باشم
So there is, what was that one over? Not wearing it, right? So here, women are having to struggle against people not wanting them to, or to wear it, and then in Afghanistan and there's some other countries where it is law, right? Or where they are looked down on and physically abused for not wearing it, right? So you see it's like opposite. There's opposites going on there, and depending on where. And so this is even a formula that I can understand and that you should definitely write down. Content plus context equals meaning. So there is a different meaning for the different contexts, even though it's over the same content, the same issue, and yet we can still, even in both places, come to a larger conclusion, which is women are being screwed over wherever they're at, right? I mean, I think we can agree on that a little bit. They are constantly having to fight for their freedom to do whatever it is. And sometimes, yeah, it's pretty brutal. There are pictures that I could show you, but I don't want to because you'll have to sleep tonight, of women who've had acid thrown in their faces, right? It is like very traumatizing just looking at it. I can't imagine what they have to deal with looking at that, looking at their own faces in the mirror every day after having acid thrown on their face. Like you can't, you're never the same, like not even close. And it's over what someone else's definition is of immodesty, which is showing your face. So that's an issue. There's also other reasons why people get acid thrown in their face. There's some gang stuff too in the UK and some other stuff. So you can't just attribute it all to that, but there's a lot of cases. So we also do stuff here. Like women get raped all the time. And then if women don't put out, they're called a bitch and a slut, which I don't get that one, or a whore, if they don't put out. Does that make any sense? It's like the opposite, right? So why? Thanks, frat guys, in so many places. By the way, if you're planning on being a frat guy, that doesn't mean you have to be that way. It just means that you're going to have to deal with a lot of crappy culture. So, let's see. Anything else on that? I think there's just only a couple other points. This is super important because think of it like this too. Without context, right, we can't really answer even this question right. Without knowing this is responding to something, it's always responding, and there's always different contexts that you have to apply it to. The other part that we're going to do is I'm going to hand out to you the reading for next week, your homework We're reading Plato's Cave. Has anyone ever read this? Yeah, of course you have. Write that number at the top of your reading so that you don't forget. So we have, if you're in group 1, then your paragraphs 1 through 14, group 2, 15 through 26, and group 3, 27 through 34. And what we're going to do with that is, you'll go on Canvas to see even more instructions, but it's also laid out in the syllabus. And it is, you're going to take that section of text from Plato's Cave and you're going to summarize it, and you're going to pick out a quote. And when I say quote, I mean like, not just like one paragraph, because some paragraphs are really long. So the quote needs to be the thing that you think is like the best representation of that entire section, right? Word for word. And so if, let's say you think it's like that entire paragraph, try and find the most succinct, the most concise, that summarizes it. And what do I mean by a summary, by the way? What is a summary of something? Shortened version, that's good. Is your opinion involved in a summary? No, it's not. So there is something that is your opinion. It'll be the title that you give it. You're gonna have a summary. That's just your words, but what the thing is, so that's a paraphrase, right? But it's shorter. It's definitely shorter. And then you're going to have a quote, which is word for word, a little piece of that section. And then you're going to have a title that you make up for that section. I will take either of those, or both. If you wrote both of those down, give yourself a gold star, which doesn't mean anything for the class, but in my heart.
Is it a full point or just no points?
Yeah, just do 4 out of 5. You could give them a half a point, but I don't do half points, but you could just give it to them. Anyone? I'll know what it means. The beer doesn't even need to be in the shot.